I'm Darin Kirk Sauvey. I'm 20 years old from Orange County, California. I've been playing music for about 16 years now, mainly guitar, but I've picked up other instruments along the way, bass, drums, keyboards, so kind of multi-instrumentalist now. Introduced into the world of music for pretty much my entire life. I mean, everybody around me has either played an instrument or had music around in the house. So, my dad kind of raised me on blues music and classic rock and, the Beatles and some famous bands from the 60s, 70s. And then just as it progressed, I just kind of stuck with it. I enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed just playing around to some of the classics, and then I moved on to some of the more modern bands that influence me now. So Apostrophe 20 is sort of a collage of a bunch of different genres. It starts out with a rock tune in Lies, moves into the more bluesy side with Dreaming, goes way down into a very emotional, intimate setting with Afraid, comes back out strong with a sort of surf country vibe in No One Cares, and then it finishes off with Groovy in a very funky, get on your feet type mood. I've been working on Apostrophe 20 as an unnamed EP for like 1.5, 2 years now. It was an idea I had quite a while ago, and then I just kind of pieced it together slowly, and once I had the equipment and the means to do it, I decided to sit down and make 2020 the release of my debut. So as far as writing is concerned, I mean, I've had some of the songs for about as long as I've been dreaming up this EP, and then I've had some of them as little as a month before I needed to release it. So Lies is an interesting tune. It's actually one of the tracks that I wrote specifically for the EP, so it wasn't really known that I was going to be putting it on the EP right away. It was actually the last song that I finished before releasing it. So it's kind of one of those songs that you blast in the car when you're thinking about your ex. But that's kind of the idea behind it. And I really just wanted to put a very strong piece on the EP as the first track. I wanted to come in strong and just kind of rock you out until you got into the more intimate songs. I just want to have some fun with it, and I think it's a really fun track. It's definitely a very grungy, gritty track, and I hope that shows. Yeah, so Dreaming is actually one of the tracks that I've had for a very long time, about 1.5 years, 2 years, maybe even more. That song is one of the first songs that I decided to put on the EP. I knew it was going to be a staple on that record, and I think it's one of those songs that I really want to pull you into the dream of someone who can't have who they wish they could be with. It's a track that kind of is very hopeful and wishing, but it never really comes to fruition, and it's sort of a sad yet happy song, and I just hope that is spoken with the lyrics and the tone of the song itself. So Afraid's actually a very emotional tune to me. I had it about 1 year ago, and I wrote it on a guitar and transposed it to piano in order to have it feel a little bit more intimate and emotional. That track is very personal. Afraid is quite literally all of my fears of continuing my musical journey and continuing as a musical artist into the future. I think it's everyone's fear of not making it and staying in their box for as long as you are. And I think it's one of those emotional, intimate tunes that you kind of gravitate towards because there's a lot of meaning behind what I said in that song, and it's quite literally just the anxiety that I have as being a musician. So No One Cares is actually an interesting tune that came up as one of the first tracks for the EP, rather than one of the staples like Afraid and Dreaming. So No One Cares is actually a song about our sort of generational war that we sort of have right now, with kind of the millennial, boomer, Gen Z kind of ideas that we kind of make memes about nowadays. And it's kind of an interesting topic because I feel like people don't really listen to who's out there now getting into the nitty-gritty of getting jobs and getting themselves educated. And there's just there's sort of a disconnect in those two departments because there's one side which is already well established and there's another side which is trying to up and get themselves moving. And it's kind of this tug of war between the two generations. And that song is kind of throwing it in your face, saying, let us take the reins for a minute. Let us figure ourselves out. If you really taught us well, then we'll figure it out. So that song's a little bit iffy with some people, but I think if you'll listen to the entire tone, you'll understand that what I'm saying is just a much more soft, humble way of saying, let's try this a little bit. So Groovy is actually a really, really fun track. It's one of the ones I wrote in probably 20 minutes. And that sounds like an exaggeration, but I quite literally wrote that song at this desk in about that amount of time. And it was really, really fun to write. I was just practicing some bass, came up with the bass line, and just created an entire song around it and just kept adding layer after layer. I really wanted something that somebody could dance to, get up and move to, and have a lot of fun with. And as I was creating the track, I saw a place for saxophone, and that's when I called up Bailey Mason to come in and track that for me, and it just completed the track as a whole, and it sounds exactly as I intended it. So I really hope you guys enjoy that one. It's definitely one of the favorites of mine. So you can find 20 on 11020, and you'll be able to find it on pretty much any service that you frequent, anything from Spotify to iTunes to Apple Music to Amazon Music, Google Play, YouTube, pretty much anything that you frequent, it'll be on. So be on the lookout on any service that you enjoy using. You'll be able to find it, as well as potentially physical copies to be made in the future. So just keep your eye out. I'll definitely keep you guys updated as you follow my musical journey. I'd like to say thank you to all the listeners who've listened to this video, my music, followed me in my musical journey. It's been a blast releasing 20 for you guys, and I'm super excited for the 10th of January to come, and I cannot wait for you guys to hear this record. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I'll see you guys on the other side.